Okay, I think our third presenter is up. You see somebody, Terry. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I am Deputy Borough President Marika Scott McFadden, and today is our joint Borough Cabinet meeting as well as Borough Service Board meeting. So actually, I mixed that up. So why don't I just go ahead and read from our pursuant to Chapter 4, Section 85 and Chapter 69, Section 2706 of the New York City Charter, a joint meeting of the Bronx Borough Service Cabinet and the Bronx Borough Board will be taking place today, here, Thursday, March 25th, virtually at 10 a.m. And what we usually do is we take attendance through a roll call, and I'll just go through our list of community boards. And as I approach your number, in anticipation, I'm going numerical order. Just unmute yourself and respond so we'll know you're here. And then also we'll be going through the council members and their representatives. So I'll, as always, start with community board number 1.
Community Board 1 here.
Thank you. Community board number 2.
Good morning, Ralph Acevedo, District Manager.
Thank you. Community board number 3.
Good morning, John Dudley, District Manager, Board 3, present.
Good morning, the Chair of Board 3, Dr. Bruce Rivera.
Excellent. Thank you. Community board 4.
Good morning, Robert Garmendes, Chair of Community Board 4.
Okay. Community board 5.
Dotson, Community Coordinator, CB5.
Thank you. Community board 6.
Good morning, Carla Leon, Community Associate.
Community board 7. Okay. Community board 8.
Good morning, Laura Spalter, Chair, Community Board 8.
Good morning to you. Community board 9.
Good morning, Madam Deputies. Nice to see you. This is Shirley San Andres Alonso, Assistant District Manager.
It's good to be seen as well. Good to see you. Community board 10. Hearing nothing. Community board 11. And last but not least, community board 12.
Good morning, Madam Deputy. Dr. Michael Burke, Chairman, Community Board 12.
Excellent.
Morning, George.
Deputy,
Good
Board
to see you,
11 is up.
George.
Deputy, just to let you know that Jeremy is on. I don't know if he's having issues as well.
Jeremy, Community Board 11,
Yeah.
is on, but he is having issues. Would you like to speak now? It looks like you're not muted.
Can you hear me?
Yep, heard you.
Okay. Thank you. I'm here.
Good to see you. Our council members, moving along to our council representatives. Council member Ayala.
Stephanie Herrera from Councilmember Diana Ayala.
Thank you for coming. Council member Riley. Council member Jonai. Council member Cabrera.
Good morning, everyone. Greg Faulkner representing Councilman Cabrera.
Excellent, thank you. Council member Gibson.
Good morning, Jeffrey Velasquez from Councilmember Gibson's office.
Thank you. Council member Salamanca.
Good morning, Shannon Knotts representing Councilmember Salamanca.
Okay, and Council member Diaz Senior. All righty. Thank you all. And as soon as I can get to my program, we'll move right into our presentations. And our first presentation is preparing for the spring and summer in parks, and we're going to hear from our deputy commissioner. But first, we'll have the introduction of the commissioner from our friend to the Bronx, Bronx Borough Commissioner Carissa Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you so very much. And good morning to everyone. It's a wonderful opportunity to be able to see all my colleagues. I see all my district managers, the chairs of the community boards, and the representatives of our elected officials. I have the pleasure of working with many of you on many occasions on many subjects. So for me, it's a pleasure and an honor to be able to be with you this morning. And thank you, Madam Borough President, for allowing me the opportunity to be able to introduce this. And I have to say, so for me, it's this morning, it's glorious. And I have to say, because the Bronx, the Borough President's office was the first one that started with the starting to try to do the Meaningful Mondays for us here in the Borough of the Bronx. And your Borough President, Ruben Diaz Jr., challenged all the other elected officials and all the other community organizations to come out and help us last year. Last year was a tremendous issue that we had in terms of litter in our parks. And the Borough President's office and the staff, all the staff that came out from the Borough President's office, challenged all the other elected officials that came out. And I want to thank all the other elected officials that came out to help in our parks, the many parks, Williamsburg Oval, Joyce Kilmer, Soundview Park. I can't tell you how many parks many of you participated in. We took sort of that premise, and the agency saw how important it was to be able to get community folks out. And later last year, we started a campaign on it. But I want to be able to introduce to you the person who has, for the agency, has embodied this program that we have now. And it's the anti-litter campaign that we're about to launch on April 1st. And we have with us my Deputy Commissioner, Mark Folk, who's also the Chief Operating Officer for the agency. And he will be the one to be presenting the anti-litter campaign that we have this year on behalf of Parks. And we'd like to be able to present this to you today. Thank you all very much. Commissioner?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Madam Deputy Borough President. Mark Folk with Parks. It's my pleasure to join you and to present to you Parks anti-litter campaign for 2021. I'm going to share my screen and we'll get right into the presentation. One moment, please. Okay. So, as Commissioner Rodriguez said, we're launching a reboot of our 2020 anti-litter campaign in early April, and it will be a 6 to 7 month campaign through our peak season into the early fall. In late summer of 2020, we launched a comprehensive campaign in response to litter and trash that was resulting from an increased use in our parks as a result of the pandemic and decreased resources at parks due to budget cuts. The initiative focused on implementing strategies and tactics to address the reduction of litter and the removal of litter and trash. The goal was to engage New Yorkers in reducing litter, particularly at heavily used picnic and barbecue sites, and to recruit volunteers and volunteer groups to assist with litter pickup. The target audiences were principally park goers and beach goers, picnickers, barbecuers, and of course, parents, children, volunteers, and many of you helped us out late in the summer, early fall last year. The key message is that it's our collective responsibility to care for parks, to help keep them clean and beautiful, and methods to properly dispose of trash and litter. We did a number of on-site interventions. You may have seen these in parks throughout the Bronx. We installed these trash corrals in multiple languages, which identified for park users after they were done picnicking or barbecuing or just enjoying a day in the park where they should bag their trash and place it. We also established the the orange thumb, the orange finger pointing at, park your trash here, a little pun. We had 2,500 stickers and trash receptacles. We did laminated posters in multiple languages. And on Labor Day weekend, we had park staff walking around distributing trash bags at heavily used sites. We also did a fairly aggressive for the late launch of this initiative outreach. We did taxi TV, reaching between 80,000 and 300-some thousand passengers, airing on NYC Life and NYC Gov, which ran for about almost 800 plays over a 3-month period. We're hoping you saw the bus shelters. Show your park some love, New York. Put trash in a bag or can, or take it with you. 75 bus shelters across the 5 boroughs, which had, according to the MTA, roughly 78 million impressions. We also did Link NYC on the kiosks, which had over 3 million impressions over the 3 months of the campaign. We did radio and drive-in movie PSAs. You see some of the radio and plays there throughout the fall and into early winter. And we did several drive-in movies throughout the agency, and we had kind of a self-promo that happened in the preview section of the drive-in movies, where we showed the PSAs about the litter campaign. We also, of course, used extensive digital media and promotion and awareness on all of our different platforms. Here are some of the things that specifically address grilling, showing parks some love, placing trash in a bag. So a total of about 80,000 impressions. We had substantial and very positive press coverage, both on the anti-litter campaign and on the volunteer cleanups. This is just a small review of all of the press coverage that we got as part of the campaign. And some of the measures of success, and again, it was launched very late. It was launched in August. We did our partners at Partnership for Parks, what we call PFP, did 37 volunteer projects across the 5 boroughs. And again, this was still when many people were under lockdown in early fall. That involved about 380 volunteers collecting over 200 bags of trash. One of the metrics we look at is of course, 311 complaints. And pre and post launch, we saw a significant spike year to year in July and August in 311 complaints for litter and trash. 1,276 in August, which was pre-launch, and then that dropped by about a half in September, and again, half in October. Now, clearly, in September and October, park use trails off, but last September was fairly warm through most of the month, and we saw heavy park usage. So we think at least a portion of that drop off in 311 complaints was a result of these volunteer initiatives in the campaign to keep our parks cleaner. So let's move, that was the 2020 campaign. Let's move to the 2021 campaign. And it's largely an extension and an expansion of the 2020 campaign. So the goals remain the same, the key messages are the same, although we're adding a second call to action. Here's how you can help, giving more directive to volunteers and those interested. The creative remains the same. We'll be using all of the same tactics. And again, the campaign will run April through October. So beginning the middle of next week, actually a week from today, on April 1st, we're going to launch a 1-week launch of the campaign with a series of Love Your Park pop-up events. These will occur in high trafficked areas throughout the boroughs. They're pop-up events that'll give passerbys and park users opportunity to show their love for the parks. We've designed really cool postcards that people can fill out and express their love to the park and give to us to post. They can post on Instagram or their social media. They can mail it to a loved one. We will have orange, and I'll get to the importance of the orange in a moment, garbage bags that people can take with them. They'll get a bingo card, which allows them to play a really cool game of bingo as they visit the parks, and they'll learn about other volunteer opportunities. We're going to be doing probably close to about 18 of these pop-ups over that 7-day period of April 1st to April 7th. Currently, there are 3 scheduled in the Bronx, at Joyce Kilmer in the afternoon of April 5th, and then Mosholu Parkway and Bronx Park East on the morning and afternoon of April 7th. And also there'll be a lot of press feeding of this campaign, of launch of the campaign, and a lot of digital media outreach. So that'll be beginning a week from today. We are substantially expanding our on-site interventions. So we're increasing the number of parks that are part of this focus from 36 at the end of last year to 93 citywide. We're increasing the number of trash corrals, those bright orange banners you saw earlier, from 82 corrals in the 36 parks last year to 169 corrals in the 93 parks. We've increased those numbers of the trash can stickers, park your trash here, from 2,500 we installed last year to 5,000. And very significantly, and with the support of a private donor through the City Parks Foundation, we have purchased 60,000 orange trash bags. These are the bags that will be handed to volunteers to use when they pick up trash and help keep the parks clean. The importance of the orange is, one, it ties in with the visuals of the campaign, but also it really allows them to highlight their work. So in many places, they'll be working right alongside park staff. You know, we use our traditional dark green or black trash bags. So when you see trash piled there waiting to be picked up by one of our packers or compactors, the orange bags will distinguish places that have been supported by volunteer activities. And, you know, we see volunteers hopefully gathering around the bags at the end and taking selfies and Instagramming and using their own social media to help promote the campaign and the positive impact. A specific initiative to this group, hopefully interest to this group, are 4 volunteer initiatives that we're standing up to support the campaign. Monday morning pitch-ins, litter ambassadors, Junior Litter League, and Parky volunteers. And I'll talk about each of them specifically. So Monday morning pitch-ins is what Commissioner Rodriguez Rosa mentioned, really grows upon the great strength and the leadership the Bronx Borough President Diaz Jr. showed last year with Meaningful Mondays. We greatly appreciate his and all of your support in helping keep Bronx parks clean at the end of last summer and into the fall. So we're building upon that without taking the name. We want to respect that the name is kind of within the realm of the Bronx Borough Commissioner. So we're calling it Monday Morning Pitch-ins. This targets the general public with special outreach to all of you elected and volunteer groups. It'll be led by our colleagues at the Partnership for Parks, which is a joint program of City Parks Foundation and NYC Parks. We're planning 150 projects. That's 10 projects each Monday for 15 weeks from June through September. And the importance of Mondays is Mondays are our most challenging day at parks to clean up after busy, active weekends. We've all experienced it in parks. It's a beautiful summer weekend. A lot of people come out and barbecue and enjoy, and we're often confronted with lots of trash on Monday mornings. So there's a very specific reason we're targeting Mondays. Dates will be selected in advance in coordination with Partnership for Parks and Bronx Borough leadership. We invite all electeds to participate, bring their staff, bring volunteers, and try and schedule 2-3 weeks out from the event. Volunteers will be able to schedule on our website at parks.gov. We will have staff that will lead every project. So Partnership for Parks staff will lead 10 projects every Monday for the total of 150 projects. We at operations will support it, materials needed, the trash bags, any rakes, gloves, etc. And then separate from electeds, Parks Friends of groups, community boards, everyone else is welcome to join Monday morning pitch-ins, along with park staff, next to electeds, or completely separate activities. So that's Monday morning pitch-ins. Litter Ambassadors is a new program. It's to recruit volunteers from the public to recruit volunteers to educate the public and park goers to clean up after themselves, distribute the orange trash bag, and encourage park users to properly dispose of trash, litter, and hot coals. We're targeting 20 heavily used picnic and barbecue sites. There are several in the Bronx, including, of course, Pelham Bay Park and Orchard Beach. Volunteers, the park, we will provide the gloves, the trash bags, vest, and credentials. It's managed by our park administrators, and it's a volunteer opportunity available May through October, mainly weekend afternoons. And this is a very low engagement activity for volunteers. It is basically volunteers in groups of 2 or 3 people. We don't need large numbers to do this. You'll be given a vest and a badge identifying you as a litter ambassador. And we will just ask you to walk around picnic and barbecue areas, for example, walk around places in Crotona Park, walk around places in Pelham Bay and Orchard Beach, and distribute the orange trash bags, asking folks to, pick up after themselves, pointing out where folks should place their bags when they're filled, asking them to tie them up securely, pointing out where they should deposit the coals. Again, very light touch. This is not cleaning up trash. This is simply walking around, encouraging park users to do it themselves and distributing bags if the park users need them. Junior Litter League, a new program targeting engaging youth ages 10 plus. Teams will engage in self-guided parks cleanups in April and May. So this program launched on March 15th through DOE and a number of schools and educators. Trash that's collected will be weighed, and it will be a kind of a fun little competition. There's a very extensive Junior Litter League toolkit, and the use of Litter League is specifically like building on, Little League. So, there's baseball cards, there's all kinds of iconography that's associated with Little League. The goal is to address both the immediate goal of helping to clean up the park, but also build long-term sustainable and civic engagement in youth. It's school children ages 10 plus from any educational institution, focused on 20 neighborhoods that were the hardest hit by COVID-19 and with high levels of poverty. Youth service providers such as Boys and Girls Clubs are also being engaged. Groups register through our website, they submit cleanup data through the website, and all participants will receive a thank you giveaway and certificates. Teams, again, can earn the digital baseball cards that they can collect as milestones or they can trade amongst their friends. And very importantly, this program is eligible for high school community service hours. And then the fourth volunteer initiative doesn't engage the public at all. It's actually our own Parky volunteer cleanup. So to show that our staff is working alongside the volunteers, this program is to utilize non-maintenance NYC Park staff to volunteer on Monday and following key holidays to assist with litter pickup. We saw last summer and fall, as there was a lot of press around our litter and trash challenges in parks, that many of our colleagues here at parks that don't work in maintenance and operation and were working from home or telecommuting volunteered to get away from their virtual desks or out of their apartments or bedrooms and get out in the park and help us clean up parks. So we greatly appreciate that. So we have structured a structured program for this year. It's 21 high volume dates from September through October, May through September. So that again is not citizen volunteers or electeds. This is park staff. So that's an overview of the campaign. We hope you'll be engaged in the campaign, help us to promote the campaign through all of your different platforms, digital media. We have collateral, we have the graphics that can help you do that. And if you'd like to assist us in either promoting the campaign or actually coming out and volunteering throughout the spring and summer and into the early fall, particularly for the Monday morning pitch-ins, which is what we're really promoting for electeds and community boards, and or the litter ambassadors, which is weekend afternoons. We ask that you contact Commissioner Rodriguez Rosa or Michelle Martel, the Commissioner's Chief of Staff, and I know Michelle is on this call. So there is their phone number and their email address. So again, thank you very much for the time. We're very excited about this campaign, and hopefully it'll allow us to all ensure safe and clean parks for all Bronxites. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. We certainly appreciate that presentation, and Borough President and myself, and as well as everyone here, we're really encouraged by the moves that the Parks Department is making toward keeping our green areas usable, and we're excited to work with you. I'm sure you're going to get a lot of response to the presentation, and look forward to seeing you again. So we'll just move on with the agenda. Thank you again. Actually, I should ask if there are questions.
All right, I see one hand raised right away. Michael Burke, go ahead, unmute your line.
Not a problem. Thank you, Mr. McShane. Thank you, Madam Deputy, and thank you, Deputy Commissioner Folk. I have a question. Can you go back to slide 8, please? Well, never mind. You stopped sharing your screen. So I would just say on slide 8, you refer to grilling in the park. I may be naive, but I thought it was my understanding that grilling is illegal in New York City parks.
No, not at all. We have designated grilling. We have at any picnic area, a family can bring a grill and put it on, the end of a picnic table. We have lots of grilling that happens every weekend at Pelham Bay. Grilling, but no, grilling is not illegal in New York City parks.
Okay, so my follow-up question is, I noticed the orange color that you're using for the campaign, and normally I guess that, in addition to the brown, is normally affiliated with the Department of Sanitation Organics program. So I guess my question is, if grilling is allowed, will you guys have a separate space for the constituents to be able to put organics in the receptacle so that it can be composted?
Unfortunately, not at this time. We don't have a composting program at parks. We had launched one in 2019 in partnership with DSNY that we were rolling out in select locations. And then due to the pandemic-related budget cuts of 2020, DSNY suspended the organics collection program. So there's no place for us to go with the, we don't have any ability at parks to process the organics. They were going to DSNY for the processing, and with the suspension of that program, we suspended the collection in parks. It's something we hope to cycle back to if DSNY can reestablish their organics collection program.
I would just like to add in terms of the barbecuing, the Bronx public is very creative, and so that sometimes when the sign says no grilling, they may actually read it as permission to grill in that particular area. So that being said, I think it's really important to know to offer help, even though we know something may not be happening there, but let's try to keep the parks clean if it's going to happen. So I think that's necessary. Are there any more questions or any other questions?
Yeah, I don't see any other hands raised. So I think that's it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again. And thank you for the question.
Thank you very much.
Our next presentation is an overview of the Workers' Compensation Board and Service Workers. And our presenter is Chair Carissa Rodriguez of the New York State Compensation Board. But I also, before we start the presentation, want to acknowledge the presence of Jose Rodriguez. We got a lot of Rodriguez's today, representative, council representatives. So make sure that he is accounted for in our attendance records. And now, Ms. Rodriguez, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for having us. We also have a slide presentation, so I'm going to allow Deb Spence to go ahead and share her screen, and we will go ahead and get started. In the meantime, just in the interest of time, Deb, you're getting it up, yes?
Yes, I'm getting it up. I wanted to know if you wanted me to introduce you, but I will just go ahead and bring it up.
You know what? I'll do a very brief introduction of myself if you want to get it up. Yep. So again, thank you everyone for having us here at the joint meeting of the Bronx Service Cabinet and the Bronx Borough Board. It's a pleasure to be here among so many city and state officials and their respective representatives. Now, we at the board are so grateful for the opportunity to speak with you today because not many people know very much about workers' compensation. Actually, I didn't know very much about it until I came to the state agency myself. And one of the things you should hopefully take from this is that this is going to be a very abbreviated presentation. But each of the advocates that I'm going to be introducing you to is available to you to make a longer presentations, a more detailed presentation, really making you and your communities abreast of the rights and obligations with regards to workers' comp, and how we at the agency can actually be a very vital financial resource for communities. So while Deborah gets it up, I'll just talk to you a little bit about me. So again, I'm Carissa Rodriguez. I'm an attorney in practice since 2007. And again, I'm chair of the New York State Workers' Compensation Board, which all that means is that I'm actually a state commissioner and part of the governor's cabinet, but I get to be the public face and head of the agency as well. I am the first Latina chair, only the 7th woman and first Latina chair of the board, something that I'm very proud of. As I come from very humble means as a girl from Washington Heights of Dominican parents who immigrated in the 70s. Now, prior to joining the board, I served as a litigator, because I'm an attorney, with the Legal Aid Society for about 8 years in New York City in various divisions and on the civil side, doing foreclosure, predatory lending, housing work. I also served with the Civil Rights Bureau of the Attorney General's office and also some labor unions like DC 37. And before law school, I actually worked in the Bronx for a little bit. I was a community organizer with the Northwest Bronx Community and Clergy Coalition. Yeah. So that's a little bit about me, but I'll tell you, the board exists to oversee the workers' compensation system, as well as other worker benefits, which include the disability benefits, paid family leave insurance, which is still the first, actually the strongest paid family leave insurance in the nation. But we also administer benefits for volunteer firefighters, volunteer ambulance workers, civil defense workers. So thank you, Deb. Just, you know what, just jump to our agenda. So on our agenda today, we're gonna give you a very high-level overview of the workers' compensation system, like I said, and the benefits available to all workers under the law. Then I'm going to turn it over to our advocates in our agency. I'm going to start with Joseph Cavalcante, who will discuss what the Office of the Advocate for Injured Workers does. And then he's going to turn it over to Neil Gilbert, who will discuss what the Office of the Advocate for Business does and how they can both be of service to both workers and area businesses in your communities, especially small businesses. So if time allows, we're going to conclude with a brief Q&A session, of course. Okay, next slide. So what does the Workers' Comp Board do? So we're an administrative adjudication agency that regulates the system, ensuring compliance with the workers' compensation law. We work closely also with other state agencies, such as the Department of Labor and the Department of Financial Services, to assist us in this. The board receives reports of all injuries and payments in a workers' compensation claim, but we don't actually pay the claim. The claim itself is paid by an insurance company, otherwise known as the insurance carrier in a claim. Or in the case of large employers like Walmart or something, or municipalities, they actually become self-insured and they then go ahead and pay the claims. So except in one instance, if the employer is not carrying insurance, for instance, but the claim is still compensable, then we will pay the claim through our uninsured employers fund. That's getting a little bit too much in the weeds, but we'll go ahead and then go after that non-compliant employer. Now, in addition to ensuring compliance with the law, the board also holds hearings when appropriate to adjudicate any claims if there happens to be a dispute. So think of us almost like a court system, right? We issue decisions that help decide how the workers' comp law should actually be implemented. Now, we as a state agency have approximately 1,100 employees. We have 26 hearing points throughout the state and approximately 86 administrative law judges to hear these disputes. And there's also another body, a separate body of 13 of us that issue that help with the the appeals of those decisions from the workers' comp law judges. And I chair that body as well. And it's a civilian board, so not everybody has to be an attorney. I'm only one of 4 attorneys, but we have representatives from labor and representatives from business. So, and you should know that during the pandemic, another point that I'm actually very proud of is that we've been open and doing hearings without interruption, unlike some of the other court systems in the state. And in fact, during the pandemic, 100% of our hearings have been virtual and or remote. What this means is that parties can actually attend a hearing on their computer or mobile device, or calling in by telephone if they don't have either. Okay, next slide. Another important point to make sure that both workers and employers know is that workers' comp is a no-fault insurance system. This means that an injured worker need not prove negligence against their employer in order to succeed in a claim in our system. It's not like the employee is suing the employer in court and has to prove wrongdoing, right? This is what we call the grand bargain. In lieu of suing the employer and potentially bankrupting a small business, they go ahead and try and work things out through our insurance system. So also you should know that the insurance is also mandatory for employers with few exceptions. Employers must provide this insurance at no cost to employees. And employers must also carry disability benefits and paid family leave insurance. But workers may contribute to those policies. So there's a little bit of a distinction there. Neil can go into that in a little bit more detail later and in his much larger presentation. Next slide. So it's important to know that there are 3 major workers' compensation benefits. The first is for medical care and treatment for work-related illness or injury for the rest of the worker's life, unless the injured worker has somehow waived their rights as part of a settlement. Again, a little bit in the weeds, but you should know that. Also, mileage and transportation costs to travel to medical appointments is also reimbursed to the injured worker. The second benefit is indemnity or lost wage benefits, which is what we call the cash benefits. And these are for periods of time that the worker was out of work due to the work-related illness or injury. And lastly, and usually that's, Joe will talk to you a little bit more about how that's calculated in his larger presentations, but usually that's 2/3 of the worker's average weekly wage. And it could also be in a lump sum payment. Lastly, we have death benefits for work-related death, which include weekly payments to a dependent spouse and or any surviving children. And it can also be a lump sum to the parents or the estate, and also covers funeral expenses. One important note here, these benefits are all tax-free and the payments do not count against a worker as a public charge in the same way that, for instance, public assistance can. So that's another important note, especially for immigrant communities, that you relay to them. Okay, next slide. And speaking about immigration, I especially wanted to make this note for you and your communities, especially given the demographics of the Bronx, that immigration status of a worker is not a factor whatsoever in filing a claim. There are no questions about citizenship, visas, or immigration in general in our system. And employers are not permitted to keep workers from filing a claim based on immigration status or anything else actually, or they can risk violating the law. We also do not share a worker's information with any state or federal agency, including any immigration agency. So workers' comp law specifically states that workers' compensation benefits to non-resident aliens shall be the same in amount as provided for residents. So it's right in the statute. And courts actually have held that the status of an injured worker as an undocumented alien does not in and of itself prohibit an award of workers' compensation benefits. But the state has actually gone further. The governor signed Executive Order 170 a few years back, you'll recall, which prohibits immigration and customs enforcement officials from entering into state office buildings, including our office buildings and hearing parts. And we do enforce that. Okay, so hopefully that gives the communities a little bit of reassurance. Next slide. This also means that our claim forms are available in all of the languages that you see on your screen here. And the 9 languages that 90% of New York residents read, which is really important in New York City, right? Since we have so many people that are from so many countries. It's important to note that we translate and interpret for both injured workers and employers. So if you know of a small business owner that needs assistance because maybe English isn't their first language, please don't hesitate to call us. In fact, I will now turn it over to one of our most important public resources at the agency for our major stakeholders. And you should feel free, like I said, to please use them. These guys should become your new besties after this presentation. And the first will be the board's ombudsman for the Office of the Injured Workers, the Advocate for Injured Workers, Joe Cavalcante. So take it away, Joe.
Thank you very much, Clarissa, and good morning, everyone, and thank you for having us. This is a particularly important day for us to be speaking with you because today is the anniversary of the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire. That was 110 years ago today in Lower Manhattan, Greenwich Village, and that was the seminal event that brought about workers' compensation in this state, as well as the founding of an insurance company in the state to handle the claims, and the founding of the Department of Labor, as well as the box fire escapes that you might all be familiar with. Those all came out of that fire. I am the manager of an office of people who helps workers with the most difficult and complex claims. Yes, workers can contact the board in general and receive help and services, but we're a specialized office that helps with those claims where the worker is struggling and needs something extra to help. My office also initially handles all fatality claims because, as the chair mentioned, there is a benefit in the workers' comp system for fatality due to employment. We also work directly with the 9/11 community, and that's almost 20 years ago, but yes, that situation, as you probably know, is ongoing. And of course, this office reports directly to Chair Rodriguez, particularly in the form of me, which I'm very glad for. So now I'd like to talk to you a little bit about workers' comp. Let's go on. And in the 5 minutes that I'm going to speak, I will tell you very important information about workers' comp. For example, what the worker is earning is the basis of the workers' comp benefit. Now, the insurance company and the employer will exchange that information. It can be verified by us, but I like to make a special point for workers who are paid in cash because we know that happens, and those workers are just as eligible for benefits as anyone else. There's no distinction. However, it gets a little tricky for the worker to prove what that cash payment was, so I'm telling you so that you can pass it on to your constituents as needed. If a worker is being paid in cash, it's just a good practice for workers' comp and for life that the worker should be recording what he or she is being paid in a notebook. It's really that simple. Just get a notebook. Write down the date, the amount, who paid it, and what you're being paid for. That could solve a lot of problems down the road in a lot of areas, but also when it comes to workers' comp, where they have to demonstrate what they were earning, it's very valuable. Now, regarding workers' comp specifically, we just want to tell you that there are 4 features, generally speaking, in the claims that have the best outcomes. And the best outcome is defined as the worker is paid and gets back to work and is healthy. And for the employer, which Neil will discuss in a few minutes, for the employer, this will tend to get the worker back on the job and result in lower comp premiums. So here are the 4 features. Number 1, the worker gets appropriate and prompt medical care. Obvious. Number 2, the insurance company is promptly reporting the injury to us. Number 3, the insurance company is promptly paying the benefits, and then we get the record too. But obviously, if you're reporting it promptly and you're paying the benefits promptly, you're on top of it as an insurance company. You're taking care of the worker the way you're supposed to. And then finally, the last feature, a return to work program, because workers can frequently come back to the employer before they're 100% healed if the employer is willing to make a few accommodations to help a worker who might have some medical restrictions because the worker's still healing, but the worker can come back with the restrictions and make a contribution. That all the studies show, and there are a million studies, this is academically studied, this field, all the studies show that the quicker the worker comes back, the better the worker heals, the employer gets a worker back on the job, and that even helps them with their workers' comp premiums. Now I would like to talk to you specifically about COVID, because this is a very important topic. COVID is an infectious disease, and infectious diseases are payable in the workers' comp system in this state. Every state has its own system with its own rules, but New York, yes. COVID claims are payable. We have a lot of information about this that's that we've placed on our website. We have a fact sheet, and there's even a short video. You might recognize the narrator's voice if you watch that video after listening to me. And we're doing this because we want people to understand, because to us it's a simple thing. It's an infectious disease, it's payable, but we recognize obviously the wider community may not know this. All right, but here's what I'd like to tell you specifically about COVID claims that you can relate to people, or you can understand either if you're talking about it or if, heaven forbid, you had one yourself. There are 2 essential elements in a workers' comp claim: a report that there was an incident and a medical report. So if a worker gets sick, worker tells employer, I got sick. Employer tells insurance company must tell us by law or face penalties. That's mandatory. However, the worker may, at his or her own discretion, file a comp claim to let us know what happened. We always recommend the worker do that, in part because then we know for sure it happened, but also because the worker gets to tell his or her side to the extent that that's necessary. It's not as necessary here as it might be in like civil litigation, but getting it on record, 100% wonderful. Okay, so that's the notice. Now the workers need the medical reports. So what that means, there's probably a positive PCR test result out there. The worker needs to file that with us. If the worker got it by telephone, as so many people did, we recommend get it on paper and file it. The medical authorities will generate it on paper for you upon request, especially today. All right, so now you've demonstrated you truly did have COVID. Now the question becomes, did you get it at work? This is where we have to understand that a doctor is going to file a report that talks about the likelihood that that happened, not whether we can pinpoint one single moment in time No, that's not how it works. The doctor will file an opinion regarding the likelihood that the worker got it on the job. That means the worker should have a very detailed and frank conversation with the doctor and share details such as, did the worker wear a mask? Did coworkers wear masks? Did the worker deal with the public? Was the public masked? Was there COVID-19 prevalent in that workplace? Because it doesn't matter if a worker got sick because of a coworker or a vendor or a member of the public. It doesn't matter. The only thing is, did it happen due to your employment? And then finally, are there any other circumstances that the provider should know about exposure on the job? And of course, this is an infectious disease, so physicians have a protocol of their own that they're going to follow. They're going to ask some questions. And this is a long way of saying workers should be very frank and honest and tell their doctors all the details about the workplace with respect to COVID, even if they don't think it's important. Okay, Deb. This is the point where I introduce my brother advocate, Neil Gilbert. He is the advocate for business, and we do, by the way, work very collaboratively and cooperatively together.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for having us here today. As Chair Rodriguez said, we're giving a very abbreviated presentation today, and both of our offices are available to do much more in-depth presentations as the subject matter really requires. My office was set up, as Joe's, out of legislation to be one place where small business especially can reach out to get information they need to know about workers' compensation, disability, and paid family leave. My office handles calls on a daily basis from employers who have issues, who have penalties, who want to know what they need to know about workers' compensation insurance. I traveled prior to COVID. I traveled across the state from Montauk to Buffalo, meeting with business association, business groups, chambers of commerces, government personnel to make them aware of the responsibilities. For government personnel, they need to see acceptable proof of workers' compensation and disability insurance before issuing a permit license or a contract, or getting acceptable proof that it's not required. Again, prior to COVID, we did all of this personally, but now we do it through Zoom. So if you have a meeting that you'd like us to attend now, we're certainly able to do that. And I also report directly to the chair, which is great because many times when I go out and meet with business groups, I will learn things that perhaps we're not doing properly or we could do better. And I bring it back to the chair and see if perhaps systemic changes can be made based on what I've learned out in the field. Next slide, please. Now, I think you got to go to a different slide. You go the other way.
You're going backwards, Deb.
There we go. Okay, so one of the things I speak about are workers' compensation insurance. Who needs it? What is it, first of all? What is workers' compensation insurance? Many people don't even know. So it's an insurance that's mandated in New York, and it covers injured workers for accidents and illnesses that occur on the job. Disability insurance, which is also mandated, covers accidents and illnesses off the job, not to be confused with Social Security disability, which is an entirely different thing. People need to know, how do you get this insurance? Get it by purchasing it from a regulated insurance carrier that's licensed to sell workers' comp and disability insurance in New York State. There are approximately 200 to 250 carriers that sell it, one of which is the New York State Insurance Fund, which is a state agency, and they insure probably 50 to 60% of the employers in New York, the businesses, and they are what we call the insurer of last resort, which is not a negative. That means that they must write a business. If you own a business in New York and you call a private carrier like Hartford or Zurich, and you tell them you want to purchase workers' comp insurance, they can look at what you do and decide they don't want to write you. The state insurance fund must write you unless you owe them money from a prior business, and then they will not write you until you pay your fee. One of the areas we speak about often, which is a common problem with businesses, is the employee versus the independent contractor status. A lot of employers want to treat their employees like independent contractors because obviously the carrying costs are lower. The employee chooses to do it because they get a bigger paycheck, and that's fine until the employee gets injured and they go to the hospital. And the first thing they're asked is, did this happen at work? And the employee says yes. And then it becomes a claim against that employer. And I would suggest and strongly suggest that anybody that's thinking about getting into a situation like this, go to our website, wcb.ny.gov, click on the employer, and look up independent contractor. You will see the criteria that is used by our administrative law judges to determine independent contractor status. I can't get into all of them now, but direction and control. Are you telling the employee when to show up, what to do? Are you giving them equipment? Do they have their own federal employer identification number? Are they truly an independent business than yours? If they are not, don't call it something that it isn't, because it will ruin you, and everything you've put into your business can fall apart based on the problems that will follow that. My office also handles concerns from employees who have penalties with us. There's something in New York called the debarment law, which is a very punitive law. If you have any penalty with us whatsoever, you are barred from getting any contract in the state of New York with a municipality for a year. So I always tell people, do everything in your power not to have a penalty. A lot of penalties occur when businesses have their insurance carrier audit. They get into a disagreement with the carrier about the audit. They don't think it's correct. They don't pay the bill. They lapse with us, get a penalty. Then they're told by the carrier they were correct. They get their money back. But guess what? Now they have a penalty with us. So I always advise businesses, if you have a disagreement on your audit, pay it. If you're correct, you'll get the money back. If you're not correct, you should have paid it. But regardless, you will not have a penalty with us, and you will not be on the debarment list. There is no way off the debarment list. So make sure anyone you're speaking to, make sure they don't end up on that debarment list. Also, if an employee comes to you and they tell you they were injured on the job, file that claim immediately, not even timely. File it immediately, and also make sure that employers know they can never discriminate against someone for filing a claim. You can't take punitive action against somebody for filing a claim. And lastly, immigration status is not a factor, as was mentioned before, in receiving claims or benefits. And once again, my office is really looking forward to getting out into the community and meeting with you and doing a far more in-depth presentation as this really serves. Thank you.
Okay, this concludes our presentation. So please follow us on our social medias. Stay up to date on what we're doing by signing up to our website to receive notifications. And I guess if there are any questions, we can take those now.
Can you guys unshare?
Oh, stop sharing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can take care of that. That's all
I'm sorry,
set.
Chris. I didn't mean to over.
No, that's okay. But do you want me to check for questions, Deputy?
Yes, please. Any questions, please raise your hands. And as you recall, if you're on the phone, star 9.
Yeah, star 9 raises your hand. We don't have too many people on the phone today, though, so that's good. But I see Ralph Acevedo has his hand raised, so Ralph, go ahead and unmute.
Hi, good morning.
While
Thank you
we're
for
waiting
that
for him to
presentation.
do that, I know there was a note in the chat about sharing the presentation. So if you could share, give us the presentation, we'd be happy to share that with the rest of the board through email. We'll just shoot it out to everyone.
Yeah, I think we can get a PDF version out to you, but we'll certainly do that after this meeting.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
And the question is?
Thank you, Madam Deputy. I just wanted, if they can share along with the presentation, just their contact info on who we can follow up with to request a presentation. Maybe if they can just put that in the chat, that'd be great.
Yeah, so if you can share in the chat your contact person for presentation so that each board can reach out to that person. There was a lot of information included in the presentation, which we're certainly grateful for, but I'm sure we can use, tomorrow we will need a tutorial.
Yeah, we'll do that. I don't know, Joe, are you doing it now? It looks like you're furiously typing.
Yes, I am, Chair. So I'll handle this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank
Sure,
you.
you're
Any other callers? No, any other questions?
I don't see any other hands raised, so I think we're good. Nope, take it back. Dr. Bruce Rivera just raised his hand.
Thank you, doctor. I wasn't ready to move on yet. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your presentation. My question refers to John's presentation on cash payment. 9 out of 10 times, if an individual is paying an employee with cash, he's seeking to evade paying insurance, paying taxes, and other employee responsibilities. So how would an individual who is attempting to submit a workers' comp claim on cash only would be successful in that pursuit?
Joe, do you want to take this one?
Sure. A worker who's paid in cash and a worker who's paid by paycheck, everything is going to be the same. There's going to be a point where we're going to have to establish what the worker was getting paid. It's much easier if there's a W-2 or a 1099, obviously, but as we indicated, if a worker is being paid in cash, yes, that certainly counts, and we're recommending that the worker make contemporaneous note of it because that is a very dependable item. The employer may not show up with that sort of detail, so the worker's notes might carry the day. Is that helpful to you?
Thank you.
And I'll add also, in the event of a hearing, our workers' comp law judges will elicit that testimony. Even if that injured worker isn't represented by an attorney, they will ask them all those relevant details to draw that out. So their hearing testimony will also be important.
I should say one more thing. It's workers' compensation, so it's not just the paycheck. Any compensation a worker is receiving counts. So if it's the super of a building who gets hurt and the super has a rental agreement, that counts. I just had something this week from a trucker, a long distance trucker who gets mileage bonuses and who gets overtime and some other extras beyond the hourly rate. That all counts. So anything the worker's receiving will count towards establishing the benefit.
Okay, thank you very much for that. That was very good. Any other questions?
I do not see any others at this time.
Okay. Well, I feel like, as I said, we'll need a tutorial on all of the things you discussed. It's a lot. It's a lot to understand. But we hope to see you again in the future or at the individual boards. And we thank you for your presentation today. So thank you very much. And our next presentation is an overview of benefits and services offered for veterans. And our presenter is Terrence Holliday, the New York City Department of Veteran Services. Mr. Holliday?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Everyone, I'm Terry Holliday. I'm a retired veteran. And actually, I was a former commissioner of the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs during the Bloomberg administration. So I've come back to handle some special projects on behalf of the present commissioner, James Hendon. Now, I have some slides. Chris, can you help me with them? Because I don't know how to share.
Yeah, I'll take care of that for you.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a number of slides, but I don't, but we'll sort of run through them a little bit. When I came on board, we were doing different things, and during the pandemic, we had an opportunity. We got our hands on a pile of money from corporations who wanted to donate to veterans, because a lot of the posts were really hurting because they weren't developing that type of revenue that they needed to pay bills. So we went through an arduous procedure. I won't say we, there was somebody on our staff that did, where we were trying to identify posts that were still in existence, that they actually had they had a loss of rental and other things along those things, resources. And so the bottom line is that we found difficulty in trying to find posts that were there. Okay, posts went from large memberships to one or two, or some of them just existed in name only. So we felt that there was really a need to reach out, identify these posts, and to make certain that all of the veterans out there are in contact with any resources that belong to veterans. And the New York City Department of Veteran Services, which has morphed in from the agency, the Merrill agency that I had managed long ago. But in any event, we wanted to make certain they knew about these things that are developing. And one of the things that I found is that I reached out to other community boards throughout the city. And one or two of the replies came back, well, we really don't need anything from you because we have veterans on our community board, which is fine. Okay. But at the time, they didn't know that eventually 23 veteran service organizations would qualify for a grant of $1,100. Okay. Or that we got our hands on some Home Depot gift cards that we were able to give out at about $100 a pop. And during the pandemic, this would have paid bills for about one or 2 months for folks where they couldn't generate the income. So what we're trying to do is to make certain that we're reaching out to veterans on all resources that are out there, not just the community boards. Okay, we're going out to veterans directly, and we think that the community boards are an ideal place, to get things out to people and to make certain that they know where we are and what's going on. I don't want to forget something. On April 8th, we're going to be talking to representatives from military representatives, either your military veterans liaison or your veterans committee, or veterans who are members of your community board. 6 o'clock, April 8th. It's a Thursday evening, and we'll send out the communications information so that there's representation, and we'll plan on having the commissioner on board. We want to talk about a few programs, and we want to make certain we're going to do this on a semi-annual basis. And we want to make certain that if they have any questions, they can come to us. If the community boards, if you have a problem that is veteran related, you can give us a call. Okay, whether it is insecurities with food, with housing, with employment. We have people working on mental health first aid. Actually, we have it going in Staten Island. We're cooperating with folks that have it going in Staten Island. We're working on that program in Queens as well. But we just want to make certain that particularly veteran to veteran, all right, that we have communications. And at any time there's a need, you give us a call. Can we hit the next slide, please? Okay. I guess I can probably do the slides here myself now. I don't know. But anyhow, these are the goals or the missions. This is the mission of the New York City Veterans Department. All right. Community engagement, targeted advocacy, and compassionate service. What we're trying to do, if a veteran has a problem, okay, and it's a problem that falls within our bailiwick, we want to try to help out. And we want to make certain that that veteran feels compensated to some degree for the service that that person made to the country, whether it was in the United States, outside of the United States, whether it was in challenging circumstances, or maybe the comfort of a base in Hawaii. All right, they're still veterans. They put time in, and there's certain things that society should do for them. Okay, can I try the next slide? Okay, this is a breakdown of some of the things that we do. Okay, where we're talking about housing, we're talking about support services, we're talking aftercare. I'll tell you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, okay, about 8:30 in the morning, I'll be unloading trailer trucks at 200 West Tremont Avenue. Okay. One of the members of DVS, Letitia Russo, I think she's a daughter of the Bronx. She's living in Manhattan now, but she was, in fact, I think she worked for the borough president's office in the day. All right. But we are feeding about 1,100 families, veterans, and community. Okay. Trailer trucks pull up, and we have trucks from various organizations and community organizations pulling up, and we're loading trucks, and the whole process takes about 4 hours. We're trying to streamline it to about 3. We had a break in January, I think it was, in late December, just before the New Year's. But basically, we've been doing this in the Bronx since about July. Okay, every Saturday in July, we've been doing that. And I've never really understood food insecurity until I started getting involved with this. And then there's another program with Hello Fresh. And we go to a warehouse where we package food, and that gets out to, veteran organizations. And we were able to connect folks. And I think we're trying to look for something like that in the Bronx as well. But in any event, this program on Tremont Avenue is part of the USDA program. And it's really amazing. These boxes, they're heavy, right? But the boxes, I think the boxes are about 12 pounds. They contain a gallon of milk, fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, frozen meats, enough stuff to keep people going for the week. And I'll tell you, a couple of the boxes like fall off the truck and break. And that's when I take a look to see what's inside. And the food, quite frankly, looks pretty doggone good. Okay. And if I saw this food in the supermarket, I'd probably buy it. All right. So we're giving quality food to people to help them through these times. And the food insecurity thing, if for people, I understood it, but I didn't understand the gravity of it. And I think as I drive through New York City and other areas and you see these long lines of people, you don't see like the California lines, but you see them, and churches are trying to get these things done. And we're just doing a little bit of our share to help get this thing done. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, we have veteran coordinators who are helping folks out with housing. Okay, and since DVS has started, we just housed our 1,000th client, a veteran, okay, in permanent housing back in November. So I think it was over a 5-year span. Okay, so it's about 200 or so veterans per year that we're able to get in. That can't be 200, yeah, about 200, that we're getting into these things. So it's like, you're helping people out with emergencies, and you're trying to help them get into permanent housing with the aftercare and everything else that we're doing. And this rolls along with us pretty steadily. Next slide. Okay, and we do this through veteran peer coordinators. Okay, and again, this is all of the aftercare. This is all of the aftercare that we're trying to provide for folks. We have about 40 people on staff, and and the people who do the work, the people who are actually in the trenches, we've got maybe about 75% of DVS is involved in getting that done. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, and we're connected with the VA, and I want to make one thing very perfectly clear. We are not the Veterans Administration. Okay, the Veterans Administration is a federal organization. They got lots of money. Okay, and we are there to help identify what we can do for veterans to get money from them, okay, or to coordinate benefits from them. And there's one thing that's important too. Back in July, we had about 7 people, 7 staff members of DVS who are accredited to handle VA claims, which means that if somebody has a claim for benefits or medical assistance, you can just call us at New York City DVS, and we have folks who will work through that process in conjunction with New York State, and we'll get those veteran services for you. Now, where that's important is that if we have an individual who is a veteran, an honorably discharged veteran, they should be entitled to VA benefits, okay? If somebody is entitled to a VA annuity, well, then that's an annuity based upon disabilities that they got while they were in the service, okay, and may have increased after they left the service, okay? And that's an annuity that's payable to them for life, okay? And in these challenging times, if you have an annuity that's already paid for, you're ahead of the game. I give you an example in June, as the pandemic was really starting to sink in, we worked with the New York National Guard to do an Operation Vet Check, which meant that we started getting names and IDs of all of these veterans, and we were making calls. We made it was about 19,000 calls. Okay, and out of the 19,000, I think we made positive connections with about 40%. And of that number, we serviced about 700. Well, there was one guy who was like really cranky. Okay. And when there was an issue, the guardsman would say, come to me. And I would sort of get on the phone with these folks and figure out what was happening. Well, this guy, after you cut through all of the layers of the onion, okay, he was a veteran who served in the first Iraqi war, and he was injured at an air base. And I think they had problems with those fire pits where they were burning the fields, where they were doing like a lot of the other stuff. So in any event, when he came back home, he filed a claim with the VA. And he said that he had a claim with the VA that was being handled, and then they dropped it, and he didn't call him back. Well, I took his information, and he gave me enough to go to New York State. New York State went to the to the Disabled American Veterans. They contacted, because they got an accredited person at that point. They contacted this veteran. His claim was put in motion, okay, and his claim went back to 1992. So if this guy has any kind of an annuity, it's going to be payable to him in arrears back to 1992. So I called the guy back, and we were laughing because he said he hit the lottery. Okay, because he probably did. You know, I mean, he's sick, he's ill, and all the rest of this other stuff. But, you know, when you talk about the annuities, you talk about this time, you know, maybe, you know, if this guy is successful with whatever's going to happen, or has probably happened already, his life is a lot better, you know, even though he's ill. But that was something there. So in the housing, can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. We're there are a lot of agencies that are out there that are helping with eviction prevention. Okay, and that's one of the things that we are also involved in. And I can't say that we're the only ones carrying the banner in that, which I'm very happy about that. But we have a number of legal programs and pro bono firms that also help out with that. So everybody's getting smarter with that right now, and that's one of the other things that we do. Next slide. I'm just going to try to run through these slides because I know you have a lot of business to do. We'll go to the next slide. Okay, and I explained to you what we were doing with veterans with the COVID-19. If you check our website, it'll give you a good idea about what we're doing. And if you have anybody that needs food in any of the boroughs, then we should know about that, because we can connect them with organizations that can help feed these folks. We have this one fellow that I know of, and I know there are more, in Brooklyn. And you know, when I finish, there are 3 of us who work in this Brooklyn HelloFresh preparation place. We make certain that he's getting his meals for the day, simply because somebody called up and said, "Can you get him on the list?" But there are other organizations that we can reach out to that would be very helpful. Can I get the next slide? Okay, and I just told you about that. And the next slide, please. Okay, VA claims, we explained that too. Okay, next slide. Okay, the mental health first aid. This is it's something that Staten Island sort of piloted, and it's an opportunity for the communities to get together in terms of how folks who are identified who need help with mental health, and how the police, how the emergency folks, how hospitals, how they treat these folks when they first come in, and they make certain that there's a lot of coordination between the agencies to make certain that veterans, okay, we're talking veterans here, that the veterans help to facilitate, the DVS helps to facilitate mental health first aid during the initial stages to make certain that everything is on the right track. All right. And that program is well on its way in Staten Island, and it's getting underway in Queens. It's probably about 60 days old in Queens. Staten Island, we got involved in it last year, and both seem to be doing very well. And we'll have more information out there about that. And it's SAMHSA. It's called SAMHSA. And don't ask me what SAMHSA means. I just know it's SAMHSA. Okay, next slide. Okay, vet check, I told you what we did with vet check with the guard. And I just want to say this. Sometimes if you think about relatives who've been cooped up during COVID-19, I think we've all tried to make that one telephone call to our mothers, our grandmothers, our greats, an uncle, somebody else who's out there, or a neighbor. All they want to do is hear a voice and to do whatever. And that's what Mission Vet Check is. And one of the other things that we picked up is, is there a way that when we call, is there something else that we can do other than saying hi? And from a veteran to a veteran, quite frankly, if I get a phone call from a vet, and the vet says, "Hey, I'm Terry Holiday," you know, I can't call myself, but I'm Terry Holiday, I'm a veteran. I'm just reaching out to you, want to make certain that you're okay. You up and around today? What's going on? That means a lot. That means a lot to just about every veteran that you call, you know, and it's a very simple thing to do. And, you know, and that was something we do. And now when the National Guard left, it was turned over to New York City. Hello, New York. And in any event, they've continued doing that, and it's getting benefits. And they're also discovering people who need benefits, and they connect them to those benefits as well. So that's working out all right. All right. Now, can I have the next slide? I think this is just about the last slide anyhow. This is the last slide. That's our commissioner, James Hendon, and he's a participating reservist. He's a lieutenant colonel in the reserves, and he's a graduate. He's a graduate of West Point, and I think he's been to Afghanistan twice. And so he's there. He's the guy who's the tip of the spear for us, and he's pointing in that direction. He's been on the job for about 14 months now. And thanks to him, I'm getting an opportunity to go out and tell people about everything that we're doing. New York City, the New York City Department of Veteran Services is into a lot. We're doing a lot, and we want to just make certain that the veterans know and veterans can reach back and get to us. On the papers that I sent, and I sent something to Marisol earlier, there's a veterans survey that was just released, and we'd like to get that out to all of the veterans. And I sent that along, and I'll forward those things out to you to do it. We have our website, New York City Veterans, NewYorkCity.gov/veterans. Just do that. I put my email on the in the chat room. If there's something that you need, if there's somebody in distress, let us know. And if you can send a representative or as many veterans would be great to the meeting that we're going to have on April 8th at 6 o'clock. And we'll send, I'll send it out next week so that you have the contact information to go ahead and do that. Often heard from like a lot of folks already, and particularly from the Bronx. And you guys were like, great. I've met with about 3 community boards online, and there was a lot of information that we had back and forth. So I really thank you very much for this opportunity to talk to everybody. And we're there for you. We're there for your vets, whatever we can do. And if you need to get connected, with any type of food insecurity issues, or you want to find some, Letitia Rousseau is the contact point. Send me an email and I'll get Letitia involved in that too. But we're having a good time. And that's it. Thanks very much. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. I had a little frog in my throat there. Sorry. Thank you. Of course, thank you for your service. And again, thank you for your service to the other veterans that really need it. We appreciate your presentation, and I'm sure individually people will reach out to you for additional services. So thank you again.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
So this is a part of our program or agenda where we ask for announcements. And if you have any announcements, just, prepare them. I'm going to take I guess what would be called executive privilege. And because I want to do one thing, I want to make an announcement, and then while I'm putting my announcements together, then everyone else can get their announcements ready to, sort of just jump in. I want to acknowledge right now someone who is, is having the blessing of retirement, who is going into that blessing of retirement because, we don't all get there, and after so many years of service, over 40 years of service in city service and many years in their current position. Just want to thank our district manager of Community Board 3, Mr. John Dudley. I understand will be making that strong walk out the door.
Yeah, big George. Thank you, Deputy, just for mentioning that. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. It's about 42 years, mostly with the city, 41 years with the city thus far, and then it was about 2 years with the state. So it's been a wonderful long ride. It's been rewarding when you see the complexion of a district change. You know, I had 10 years of service with the borough president's office and then 31 years of service here at Community Board number 3. So, you know, it's rewarding. A lot of times, you know, there are a lot of challenges in that process. But when you see, you know, services, be it municipal services increase, social services delivered, infrastructure improvements in your respective district, and overall residential mixed-use development happen, and you see the complexion, you know, so to speak, begin to change, then at the end of the long ride, then you come to say to yourself, hey, it's rewarding, you know, and you just hope that the pension and other things, I'm just kidding. No, but it's what it is. But I just want to thank you for that note. Thank you.
Definitely congratulations. And I can't think of many things that I've done for over 40 years, except, you know, talk and walk.
It'll be June.
That's about it.
June 1 is that day. Thank you, Rip. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. And I would actually open it up to, I see a lot of great comments of congratulations in the chat, but I'll give everybody an opportunity if they would like to just, you know, have a word or just say something out of respect and with respect, and to you, John, and for your service. And if anyone wants to do that, we can just raise your hands, and Chris, you will unmute them or unmute yourself and just jump in. I mean, hey, it's Borough Board, just jump on in. Are there any hands up?
There are some hands. So Laura Spalters I saw first. So Laura, go
hi.
ahead.
First, congratulations. I have a question about whether there is any time frame or update on the Mitchell Lama housing program resolution that we recently received.
Okay.
Whether there will be a vote, or because we haven't had an opportunity to put that on our housing committee yet, but we hope to. And I was just wondering if you had a particular time frame. You had mentioned a prospective vote.
Whereas what is usually the case in those resolutions, they will be with you, the board, the individual's board, for the individual boards first. Or there will be a resolution here. So we have not continued that discussion toward a resolution at the borough board, because that has not been completed yet. And then you will also note that Marisol will list those things on the agenda item in anticipation of the meeting. So
okay, so there's still time. We received the resolution, but so there's still time, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. So John, you may not be here for that particular vote, but you know, hey.
All right, Michael Burke. Yeah, there's several. So
okay.
Michael Burke
so
was
just go
the
ahead,
next one I
Chris.
saw.
Thank you very much. So again, congratulations, you know, Mr. Dudley, on your retirement. I'm sure that, you know, we all aspire to get there one day. So again, congratulations to you. My question is for either Madam Deputy or Dr. Keck, who I see is on the call, and this is in regards to community board chairs. So, you know, I know that the mayor has a target date of May 3rd for all city employees to return to work, and although city community board chairs are not employees of the city per se, you know, we still interact with the public. So I was wondering, is there any sort of protocol for community board chairs to have access to the vaccination program that's going on outside of the general public?
So I'm sorry, because I think I was anticipating your question to go one direction, and it in fact went in another direction. I didn't anticipate you speaking to the vaccination program. I thought you might be asking about opening up procedures or something like that. So in terms of vaccination programs, and you know, it's anticipated that by May 1st, you know, that's the anticipation that everyone will be able to be vaccinated. And so I believe that is the projection and thought process in opening up by May 3rd, although the vaccination is not required for the open process with certain restrictions. And I believe, but since it's not my role as from the mayor's office to know whether I believe that those mandates have been shared with the boards respectively through DCAS to allow for, full acknowledgement and also a full development of a opening plan. Did that answer your question, even though you kind of zigzagged on me?
Actually, it didn't, Madam Deputy. The question there was regard to community board chairs being able to be vaccinated. I guess my question was that, even though we're not, city employees, the question is, since we interact with the public, my question was, is there, outside of the general public, was there, for instance, I would imagine that all city employees would be vaccinated through, the means necessary. My question is, would there be, means necessary for community board chairs, and for that matter, community board members to, outside of the protocols that are already in place? That was my question.
Okay, I get what you're saying now. I see the nuance of the question, and that the chairs as opposed to the office and the community board offices. The honest answer is I'm not sure of what the answer is. As these things come from the city or the mayor's office and their goals, and then there are things that we can do and procedures. So the short answer is I'm not sure, and we need to look into that and get back to you. And I think Tom is on the call, so we'll put a pin in that. And Tom, can we follow up on that?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Here, Nancy.
Hey, so good morning. I wanted to add something to what Madam Deputy has just explained. There is a gray zone, a gray area, even for us as government employees, that the nuances, are you a public facing person? Are you not? There are vaccination sites that typically take care of only government employees, but they're really stratified. Or, do you belong? Are you a teacher, et cetera? Civil servant. There's different grades. Right now, because there is an abundance of vaccine at this moment in time, there are community based organizations that are subcontracted by the city to focus on very specific areas. In the Bronx, we have a lot of those that are working to within NITRA and within other domains to ensure that people get vaccinated through an equity lens. But there are also additional programs that are looking at specific organizational communities, groups that do a lot of public facing work. And yes, I think that if we had a specific proposal, a specific number of individuals, names, etc., that I could advance that somewhere and we can put in a request so that our community board chairs, members could conceivably participate in some kind of a vaccination event. This doesn't mean everyone is going to step forward and volunteer. Yes, I want to do that. But for those that really want to, I try to facilitate that through the mechanisms that we do with other requests that come in that way. It's not a guarantee, but I think that there are definitely avenues for doing that as you are serving the public in very specific ways. And so I can work with Tom, with the deputy, and our office can sort of coordinate that. If each one of you in each board would let us know who would want to do this, then we can do that. Generally, they ask for my colleagues in the city when they ask, who is in high need, what can we do? within groups that ask. We need a name, email contact, cell phone contact, address, and age. And that is the basic information that is required, and we can work with that. So I'm happy to help.
Okay, thank you, Nancy.
Thank
So that's a guaranteed follow-up from our
Yeah.
office. I want to ask if there are any more hands. You know, we really did start this conversation as a congratulations to Mr. Dudley. And so I would like to as much as there are more comments for that, I'd like to do that first, and then also follow that with any additional questions about these very good topics that and certainly need to knows that that are happening. But if we could just do congratulations, John, and then the rest of the question and answer period, I'd love to do that. So, Chris.
Sure. So in that regard, George Torres, go ahead.
Thank you. What's up, Big John? I'm so proud of you, man. I'm happy for you.
Thank you, Big George.
I've known you for 20 years. It's been an absolute honor working with you, brother. I love you, man. I'm gonna miss you. You know, I mean, I remember the early days. So congratulations. I want to get to where you are, man.
I hear you, George. Thank you, man. Hey, I felt the love, George. I felt the love. You know, in fact, I'm trying to express the love through my chat. For some reason, I hit everyone, and then I type my message. Where do I send it? Yeah. But that's my issue. But I'm gonna articulate my love to you individually and to all of you collectively at the same time. You know, thank you so much. And to my wonderful chair, Reverend Dr. Bruce Rivera, carrying that torch, man.
All right. Thank you. George, is that a tear I see in your do I see a tear in your eye?
No.
Hey, John, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Jermaine. So first, I'm glad I actually came back during this time actually to see you go, man. It was a great pleasure to meet you. As the sentiments as Madam Chair said, like it's really something when you get to that milestone and you look back and you see what you dedicated to the city, and you at the point now where this is on your time. You're still healthy. You're gonna go into that new endeavor and enjoy yourself, because I can guarantee you there's a lot of people throughout the agencies now that we didn't get to say goodbye to. They didn't even get to see this point. And you know, it's a blessing, man. And I'm so proud. I'm happy for you. And hopefully, like George said, I'll be around the corner knocking on that door too. I wish we could celebrate. That's the only thing missing.
I know. Thanks, Jermaine. Yeah, no, I hear you. And that's real what you talked about, because there are a lot of people that, you know, that have challenges one way or the other, either, you know, mentally, physically, you know, health-wise related with this COVID situation the way it is. So yeah, I hear you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. In terms of hands raised, Michael Sharp had raised his hand as well from finance. So I don't know if that was a little bit of both.
Let's see, Mr. Sharp. He's usually a reliable source here, Mr. Sharp.
Definitely congratulations to John. I'll be back with something else later, but definitely congratulations to him. I actually would like to see some ID, because I don't think he's old enough to retire. He doesn't look old enough, that's for sure.
Well, I'm glad someone else said that. I am really glad someone else said that. I didn't want to challenge, but now we're gonna have to see the birth certificate.
Yeah. 6'6", man. Yeah, I got the idea.
What a blessing. Congratulations. I always known you as a hard worker, the person with the extra question. You dive a little deeper, find out a little more information. I remember even before coming to finance, you were quite active in Community Board 3 when I was working with youth programs and other things like that. So well deserved, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, man.
All right, Dr. Bola, I saw you raised your hand.
Oh yeah, thank you so much, Madam Deputy. Thank you for this opportunity, and everyone else on the call. John, I just want to say congratulations. It seems I've known you forever, and with my little uptake, and I've learned a great deal from you and the old brigade, you know, of the district managers. And now you make me feel so old, even though I know I'm still younger than you. Now that you mention your age, congratulations on your retirement. And well, I believe being the longest serving board chair in the Bronx at this point in time, I just wish you a good retirement, and maybe you should give me the 6 weeks
Yeah,
to retire
thank you,
early.
Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You're
it's been,
welcome.
Any other hands, Chris?
Nope. So the only hand left is Michael Sharp. If you wanted
Okay.
to touch on the other thing, and I don't see any others.
So yes, we'll
Thank you all.
transition. We want to just say thank you again for all of your service, your 40 plus years of service. You don't look it, which is a blessing in itself. So,
Thank you so much.
go ahead and enjoy your retirement.
Excuse me, Madam Deputy.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Greg Faulkner. I also had my hand raised. I guess it wasn't shown, but I also wanted to just add my comments and appreciation to John and wish him a long and healthy retirement. I remember meeting him the first time I was a rookie chair of a community board 7, and John, you were just a wealth of knowledge and information. And thank you for it. And as I said, I wish you a long and healthy retirement. And take time and have some fun.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Greg, thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll just return to any other additional questions, or I know Mr. Sharp had another thing that he wanted to enlighten us with. So let's go to Mr. Sharp, and then if there are any other folks that want to speak up, put your hands up so Chris can acknowledge you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm here on the department on behalf of the Department of Finance. As always, you might realize that we administer the rent freeze program and the homeowner exemptions programs for the city. But I'm here to speak about the rent freeze program in particular today, because through the pandemic, no benefits were revoked, even if persons didn't send in an application or renewal application, or they were slow getting the necessary paperwork in that was required. No one got revoked during the pandemic. But that did create a situation where a number of people are in danger of losing the benefit because of not renewing the application. And every time you receive a new lease, you have to send in a new application or renew your application. Currently, there are, I guess, just over 1,000 households in the Bronx that are in danger of losing the benefit because of this lack of paperwork. There are a number of reasons why they may not have applied. Some may have moved, some may no longer be with us, but still, that's a lot of households. And what happens is when you lose this benefit, now your rent goes up from your frozen rent to the legal rent, and that could be hundreds of dollars. And it goes up immediately because the landlord is no longer receiving a tax credit for the difference in your rent. I'm not going to go into the weeds of the program, but we want to be more intentional with the community board and the elected officials that are here in doing this outreach over the next few months. And so we'll be back in touch with you. But anyone that is in a rent stabilized development, rent controlled, any people who are in the program, they must renew, and we're working diligently to get that word out. Of course, we're reaching out to them. We were sending mails and it's postcards and the like, but we just don't want this a huge number of folks to have this benefit crisis in the coming months. So that's what I just wanted to mention, and we'll be reaching out to you individually to see what intentional outreach we can do in your communities to get the word out and to get people re-engaged. It's a simple process to reapply, but without that application, they could lose a very valuable benefit. Thank you for those few minutes.
Thank you. Any other hands?
I did see Jermaine put his hand back up. So Jermaine, if you got something else, go ahead.
Yeah, so Madam Chair, I put him in the chat. I don't know if you could see it. for everybody. But just an update that we have with HRA, which is one big concern that we had from the pandemic is a lot of individuals have been coming to HRA to apply for assistance. And one of the things that's been somewhat of a problem is them getting the EBT card timely, and this is the electronic benefit card for them to be able to use the benefits that are access to them, or given to them. So I put in the chat the number that they can call, and if it's something where they're really pressed for food and they want to get something immediately, they can go to the 1910 Monterey Avenue Center or the 300 Canal Place Center, and they can pick up a Vault card, VAULT, just in case I'm saying it wrong. And this is a temporary card that they can use that's good for 30 days until they get the benefit card in the mail. We still pushing for individuals to go to Access HRA to process, if they need to apply for one-shot deals, SNAP, cash assistance. And I also will send to you our paid off child support. This is a program that's initiated usually between January 1st until they stop extending it, but they actually extended it just recently to April 30th. And this is something where HRA will match funds for non-custodial parents to pay their child support down. So they just have to be owed to us. In light of a good coworker
Can you
transitioning
just
to a new
repeat that?
assignment, a
Because
new
on
program. I'm sorry. With the child support part?
no, you kind of wavered. Your
Hello?
sound went out for a minute, and I thought you were making an important point.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So if you hear me, can
Yeah,
you hear me?
in light of
Yeah. So
yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
okay. So could you just repeat the thing that you were saying about child support? It went out at
Ri-
least on my. I didn't hear it, and I think that's important for people
Okay.
to hear.
Correct. So during during the times, usually I want to say the agency probably look at when people start to file an income tax, they have that extra money. So non-custodial parents that have child support arrears that's owed to HRA during this time when we have this enrollment period open, that will match the funds. So if they come up with 200, we'll match it by 200, reducing their arrears by 400. So they'll keep extending this until they close it out, but right now it's been extended to April 30th. And again, it may be extended past that as the time get closer to that time frame. In light of a good coworker transitioning to a new position at the mayor's office, Nicole Jordan, I will be doing my best to cover some information if you guys have on it. But in light of that, I also put in the chat that Eric Polito is acting assistant commissioner for DHS. So his email address is in the chat. Always CC me, and as well as if something comes up in a meeting that's pressing, you could let me know and I'll forward it to him, and then I'll do my best to get an update timely back to you. Outside of that, again, John, I wish you all the best. Turn that alarm clock off because now you're on your time, and enjoy. Thank you for your time, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other hands?
I
Okay.
don't see any. Let me just triple check. Yeah, no, we are good.
Okay, well, we are certainly again happy that we could share these few words with Mr. Dudley and his retirement. He's got a few more meetings in him. He doesn't get to just run out the door, but we want to make sure that we had an opportunity to say some good words and he could hear them. We could say what we want behind his back, but right now this is what we're gonna say. For his retirement.
I can hear with my hearing problem. Yeah.
All right, everyone. As always, thank you all for this tremendous service that you do in your communities. Thank you for being with us and sharing that experience. Thank you for everything you do every day, all day, and have a great day.